Welcome to BizTech's Property Show, the show where at property markets regionally and globally, we feature and give you highlights and insights to help you manage your existing properties, get better returns, and also help you to make better decisions about your future purchases. Our focus on the show today is an overview of the entry-level segment in Malaysia, particularly the rental market, and how you as a landlord or investor could outsource the management of your property for a guaranteed fixed amount, which may be the right thing for some investors, especially given the current climate of oversupply. Now, to help us break down the details, our guest today is Khai. He's the co-founder and CEO of LiveIn.com. Now, welcome to the show, Khai.
Hi, thanks for having me, Brian. It's pleasure to be able to share what LiveIn is about. So
Now,
I'm Khai from LiveIn.
Khai, now could you just give us an overview of LiveIn and your history?
Sure. So we started as a hostelhunting.com. Back then was because I'm from real estate background, and I realized that there is this problem in the market where tertiary students or university students, especially they are from outstations or from the overseas, when they are going to study in the central cities, they will always have difficulty finding a proper accommodations for them to stay. They will have to spend like a month to 2 months just to find a decent accommodations for them to stay. So that was the problem that we noticed at first. We started as hostelhunting.com. So it was resonating to students hostel in Malaysia. That's how we started. Along the journey, when we grew, our customer base also grew. So when we were able to be popular enough to most of the tertiary students in Malaysia, we realized that our customers also able to cover young working adults. So not just 18 years old to 23 years old, but those that just graduated, they also need a place to rent. That's why we realized hostelhunting.com is no longer sufficient to cover for this group of customers as well. That was where we realized we decided we need to rebrand it. So we changed it to livein.com. We rebranded to livein.com. The reason of Live In was about the mission that we are having, where we want to shape a better living experience for the young people in Southeast Asia, started from Malaysia. So Live In is really about living in and the living experience. So you see that it was not restricted by rooms or hostel or things like that. It is really about living, right? So that's how we evolved. And we were backed and supported by investors like Jungle Ventures, like KK Fund, Wavemaker Partners. They are quite a prestigious venture capital investors in Southeast Asia, and they have been supporting us throughout the last year during the pandemic through their constant strategic advice and mentoring as well. So currently, LiveIn is operating in Malaysia and Thailand. In 2020, we also managed to ride through the pandemic. So that's how our history of us and how we come through and where we are now.
Okay, now, Khai, can you give me a perspective of LiveIn's business model? How do you make money?
Okay. So what we do is that we will focus on the owners who have difficulty renting out their properties, who have difficulty managing their properties, and we will take over these properties from the owner under exclusivity terms under Live-in, and we will manage for the owners. So first, we will make sure that it is furnished up to Live-in standards because we know how it would be efficiently managed and furnished to the target audience that we are aiming, the tenant side. And secondly, we will help the owners to find the tenant, so we will rent it out. And thirdly, we will help the owners to manage the property throughout the period under Live-in. We typically sign a 3+3 years contract or even 3+3+3 years contract. So our how we earn is via these two channels. First, we help the owners to find tenant, and we will charge a commission from there. Second, we help the owners to manage, so we will charge a monthly management fee from there.
Okay. And then so if you sign this 3+3+3 model, obviously the owners have peace of mind because they know that, okay, I've signed with this company and this company is going to rent out my property. Is there a guarantee that when they sign the 3-year contract?
Okay, no, it is not a guarantee. So our model is towards asset-light business model basis.
Okay.
So what we do is that we take the property over under LiveIn exclusivity, and we will manage it on a hassle-free basis. So
Okay.
we don't guarantee rental to the owners. But what we are able to provide to the owner is that our value propositions to the tenant is this. Because let's say in Malaysia, if you are renting out the entire condominium unit, typically you will have, let's say you rent out a 1,500 ringgit, 1,800 ringgit, or 2,000 ringgit with a 3 rooms unit. What we do is that instead of renting out the entire unit, we will turn the property in bite size, which is renting out by room to the tenants. And they
Okay.
are all standardized, fully furnished with cleaning service, with maintenance service, with high-speed Wi-Fi, with support of our hospitality manager, things like that, on a 800 ringgit to the tenants. So instead of 1,800 ringgit for one unit, we will be able to rent out for 2,400 ringgit.
Okay.
That is, so we are able to generate 20% or higher rental yield to the owners.
Okay. And also one of the things that you do, if I correct me around, and you could give me an example of that. I noticed on your website that you have a lot of properties in D Sands, which is in Old Klang Road. So give us a perspective of how you use that as one of your anchor properties to manage multiple units there.
Okay, so the key focus is that we're always targeting locations with young people like tertiary students or young working adults, locations that is convenient for these people to go to study or works. And once we spot a certain location, we will spot which buildings are the one with the standard that we want to, for example, condominiums with facilities and amenities. And most of these property owners and investors, they buy the property. Some of them may be for own staying, but majority of them are looking for investment yield, meaning that they are looking to rent out.
Okay.
And like I shared, if they rent out as the entire unit, then they are facing a huge competition with the rest of other owners as well. So when we target, LiveIn targets them, what we will do is that we will be able to rent out on a rooms basis to the specific target audience that we are aiming. So that's
Okay.
how we help the owners to solve the problem. And the moment we help the owners, once we help, let's say one owner in the sense, for example, and these owners will start sharing the news in their owner community, their Facebook groups, their WhatsApp groups, and start telling them that, oh, I noticed that this is a solution that I'm getting and happy with it. And that's where we started attracting more and more owners, let's say in the sense. And that's how we started growing from there as well.
And so you use this condo descents as an example. How many units do you, or how many beds do you manage there, or rooms?
Okay. So in the sense, we are now running about 150 rooms in the sense.
Okay, that's a sizable number.
Yes, and not just the sense, we are also covering, in Old Klang Group, we are also covering like Citizen, we are also covering like Vivo. So those are the kind of target condominiums that we are aiming. And we are mainly renting to the young people, age ranging between 18 to 25, 28 years old. In Old Klang Road, typically, probably more majority are young working adults.
Okay, so essentially what you're doing is you're solving a very big problem for property owners, because a lot of people have units, but they find it really difficult. Now it's basically a tenants market, so it's very difficult to get tenants for your units, your whole units in particular. Second thing is also, if I'm a busy working professional, I have 2 or 3 units, I really don't have the time to manage because property management is a headache. So in other words, if I'm an investor, I work with a company like yourself, um, I am able to pay you a fee and you solve that problem for me.
That's right.
Okay.
Landlords are usually facing a dilemma when they are buying a property. First is that they are able to calculate a certain rental yield, but they actually don't know how efficiently to furnish the unit. First problem could be that if I furnish in this way, and most of the owners have a blind spot that if I make it nice, and I will be able to command a higher rental yield. That
Right.
is correct, but the next problem they are facing is that once the tenant move out, they will have to redo it again for the second year onwards, correct?
Mhm.
And secondly, when they even furnish it up, they will have to deal with agents by their own to rent it out, which is a traditional way of them finding a tenant. So all this hassle process, like you said, if you are working professionals, you won't be able to handle all these things, and you will be able to spend, I would say, redundant costs over and over on refurbishment and renovations and things like that. So what we do is that because of our expertise in this, we will be able to help owners to minimize the capex, the capital expenditure spent on the property already.
Okay.
We know how to efficiently do it because we've managed throughout years by years, correct? And secondly, we help them to settle all the finding and management as well. So they don't need to be, taking care like my light bulb spoil or the toilet piping issue, things like that. And even the
Okay. So
rental
that's
collection.
part of your property management. The fee that you're paid every month, you solve that problem. You probably have your own list of preferred contractors can get everything done. So basically, if I'm an owner, I don't need to think about anything like this.
That's right. For landlords, they come to us, they sign the paper, they can rest at home and wait for their rental income. As
Okay.
easy as that.
So that's the benefit for the landlords. But for me as a tenant, what is the benefit? Why should I go to live in compared to just renting a room on my own?
Okay. So if you look at the current existing solutions in the market, most of the property platforms, they focus on unit sales or unit rental. So
Okay.
for young people that they first come to central cities to live, work, or study, uh, if they go to search all those property, like I said, they will come to see unit like 2,000 ringgit or 2,500 ringgit unit, where their probably first time the salary is just 2,500 ringgit.
Right.
So the hassle is that they will have to first find housemate to solve together. So
Yeah.
that is the usual problem that they are facing. Some of the property directories may be able to bring them to a lower budget to fit what they are looking for, let's say 800 ringgit. But usually these are, the housing conditions are terrible or crammed with a lot of people living inside, or it is away from where they are working or studying. So it needs long hour travel to the space. So
Okay.
this is the problem that they are facing. And nonetheless, what they have to do is that they will have to call one listing by one listing. They will have to go on the ground to physically inspect one room, one unit by one unit. And then they have to deal with agents or owners for all the paperwork where they are not familiar with it totally.
Okay.
So, so you can see the hassle on the ground that they are facing offline. And this has been for the past 20 years never evolved. So this is exactly how it comes in. We live in, you come over, you just find the locations that you want to be in. We will have property buildings in the locations that you are finding. And they are all fully standardized, fully furnished, high-speed internet with cleaning maintenance service covered, and supported by our hospitality manager, and our average rental is about 800 ringgit.
Okay. So let me give you an example. You say hospitality manager. Is that the person that shows the prospective tenant the individual rooms?
Correct, and shows them and also support them during their living period we live in. So because for example, when they are requesting for maintenance, let's say light bulb spoiled or something happened to their kitchen and things like that, the hospitality manager, which is our teams, will be able to support them throughout the experience as well.
Okay. Now I want to take this conversation a little bit broader now, and I want to get your insights into how the pandemic has impacted your business.
It was very challenging. It hit us because what happened is that when COVID kicked in, the first issues that we were facing was that a numbers of existing tenants, they don't know what to do. Do they should they continue to stay in the cities, or should they go home? Home, I mean, some of them are from outstations or overseas. Should they go back? And another side is that we have some tenants who haven't moved in. Let's say they are also from outstations or overseas. Should they move in now to live in?
Right.
So that was the dilemma that we faced immediately. And secondly was that uncertainties ahead, because we would have to wait for government's announcement and policies, and we actually didn't know what to do. So it was really, really challenging throughout the entire 2020.
Okay. Now, can I ask you also that one of the big things that's happened now is a backlash against short-term rental market.
Hmm.
So the many condominiums are not allowing their condos to be rented out via Airbnb and so forth. What are your thoughts on this? Could you share with us some insights? And how do condominiums view companies like yourselves?
Okay. You are right that short-term rental was boosted mainly due to Airbnb. Before Airbnb, residential properties are mainly for just own stay or long-term rental. So after Airbnb, people started to look out for short-term rentals as an alternate revenue stream as well. But the challenge that you said is right. Our government also said that all these JMB, which is Joint Management Body of the property buildings, they could ban short-term rentals under their house rules. And most of them actually do that because none of the residents actually like that daily in and out. There are numbers of different people coming into the space that I'm living in, right?
Yes.
So long-term rentals have been stable and it offers security to the owners actually. And it has been there since the very beginning. The
Yeah.
only key point is that it is a long-standing challenges for landlords because of the oversupply of properties in the market now. And
Correct. It's a tenants market right now.
mm, so what LiveIn is able to do it is that with our value propositions, we will be able to turn all these empty available properties in the market for the owners to match to the tenants that we are aiming. So that's how I see the current issues between short-term rentals. Airbnb owners try to do it, but most of the buildings try to ban it. At the same time, for long-term rentals, it is a dilemma because it is a huge competition where LiveIn is exactly coming to solve these problems for the owners, at the same time also solving problems for the tenant. So that is a gap between these two parties, you see, the owners looking for long-term rentals and security, but the tenants looking for affordable rental homes. So LiveIn is closing the gap of these two.
Okay, but Khai, so here is the other dilemma in terms of the overall real estate market. It's a tenants market because there is an oversupply. There are many owners or investors, especially the speculative investors. They bought multiple units with low upfront, no interest payment schemes and stuff like that. And now they are under pressure. They have to generate income to service their mortgages.
Yes.
Now, if investors are faced with those sort of situation, how are they? What do you recommend they do to help to make their properties more attractive to prospective tenants? Because of course, live-in is one solution,
Yep.
but then there are markets that you don't target, for example, that perhaps are above the unit rentals are above 3,000 ringgit. That the owners need to solve this problem. What are the things that they can do to perhaps solve this sort of problems?
Okay. Firstly, I would always suggest that if when they over leverage to what the capacity is able to afford at this current moment, they will really need to de-risk the portfolios that they are having. For locations that if they won't lose or if they are earning just a little bit of profit, they should find a way to quickly dispose such of these properties to lower their personal risk. And secondly, for properties that let's say if regardless of how they are doing it, they are still losing money, they will have to find way to make their properties more outstanding. They cannot do the usual way like every other owners are trying to do. Let's say just find an agent, let's say just furnish it, and let's say just rent it out. And that is exactly the problem that they are facing competition. Owners need to find a way to furnish the unit to be more outstanding than the other competitions that they are having.
But
So
Khai, this is also the problem because let's just say I've made this mistake. I bought this property. Um, I already am overstretched. I can't afford to spend 10 to 15,000 ringgit to furnish the place in
Mm.
order to then distinguish myself from other people. That isn't the method then to just lower the rental and get a tenant in at least and lower my burden.
Mm. Okay, so one way of doing it is that they could, live-in is definitely one of the solutions, but another way is that they could also find some Airbnb operators to do that for them if they feel comfortable for short-term rental under their property as well. Because most of the Airbnb operators, they will be able to come out the renovation cost upfront for them as well.
I see.
But
Okay.
yes, but the key issues that next that they are going to face is whether the property that they are owning is allowed for short-term rental, like I shared.
Correct.
Yes. So they have to gauge from several aspects. First is that whether their personal risk is manageable in a certain extent. Second is that in this particular locations, can they find out which are the target tenants that they are looking to rent. So they need to find a way to make their property more outstanding. Thirdly is that live-in or let's say Airbnb operators out there for to help them to solve this problem, but whether it's allowed to do or not in the particular property building. Yeah.
Okay. Now, final question. How do you see the real estate market panning out in terms of the rental market in 2021, not only in Malaysia, but also in Thailand moving forward?
Hmm. I expect that moving forward, the rental market will continue to be soft, and that is due to the property market. I feel that it will continue to be soft because this problem is not actually caused by COVID. It is a pre-existing problems from even pre-COVID.
Yeah, it's just oversupply, right? Overbuilding, oversupply.
That's right. When the properties just keep building in the urban cities, oversupply, but the income level of especially the younger generation, they don't rise accordingly with the same ratio. And that is the real problem. It needs a certain strategic intervention from the government to really solve this problem. But beside that, I truly feel that it will continue to be solved because it is a pre-existing problem. Let's say some people may say that vaccines would boost the market to go back uptrend, but I personally feel that it may boost some sentiments in some property investors, but it won't be able to solve the entire sector as a whole because all these oversupplied properties will have to somehow be absorbed via sales or rentals. And even properties investors pick up the positive sentiment to start grabbing some good deals, but they won't be able to absorb all of them, and they won't be able to lower rental too much as well. So from there, I really feel that property market will continue to be soft, and so rental market will continue to be soft. Like you said, it is a tenants market. But one thing I really want to share is also that on the other hand, this interesting insight is that other than tenants market, it is also the behavior of the younger generation, the millennials. These people nowadays, they started thinking downsizing their living standards. They prefer living experiences, but with more flexibility. Most of them, in fact, they don't even intend to buy property anymore.
Okay, that's an interesting insight. Okay, please continue.
Yes. So, and especially, so this is an eventual progress, you see. You will notice that it is very common in countries like US, in countries like Denmark, in Germany. Those are countries that even people could afford. Buying properties may not be their first choice. Or in certain countries like Hong Kong or Singapore that people won't be able to afford it at
Yeah.
the level that they want to as well. So Southeast Asia, especially like Malaysia or Thailand, they are also moving towards that. That is not their first priority. They are looking for flexible lifestyle. They are looking for living experience. They are looking for the ecosystem that they can hang around with friends. So those are the kind of things that they fancy more. And because of that, you will see that other than tenants market, if we understand what the younger generation are looking forward, we will know better how to give the solutions to them. And in fact, that was how LiveIn is looking to match actually. But
Okay.
if all the other property investors or owners would be able to find a solutions to understand the younger generation better, I think everyone else may come out some other solutions that fit to what they want in their lifestyles as well.
Now, Khai, thank you very much on that note. That was fascinating insights.
Problem. Thank you so much, Brian, for having me.
We've been speaking to Wen Khai, co-founder and CEO of LiveIn.com on BizTech's Property Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. Check out our Facebook and LinkedIn sites, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please subscribe and like our various platforms. Thank you very much for watching.